brother! Incredibles 2 comes out next week, and I am so excited. Like, is it next week yet? Dang it. Nope, still today. Not only is the first movie my favorite Pixar movie, but having a new Pixar movie at all means we get to expand the Pixar theory, and of course, that starts with finding all of the Easter eggs. So today we are going to run down the top 10 Easter eggs to look for in Incredibles 2. Let's start with the classics at number 10, A113, the Luxo Ball, and John Ratzenberger. Now we're gonna go ahead and group these three together because of course they are the core Easter eggs in every Pixar movie. The Luxo Ball is famous for being in Luxo Jr., Pixar's first anything ever. And it has appeared in every single Pixar movie since. If you missed it in Coco, it is right here. A113, of course, is the classroom that many of the early Pixar animators studied at the California Institute of the Arts. Now, A113 is not exclusively a Pixar Easter egg, but it has appeared in every single film except for Monsters, Inc. Now, normally it's like on an office door or something like it was here in Coco, but the first Incredibles got really creative for it and was actually the number above Bob's holding cell, but you actually had to piece it together. And of course, John Ratzenberger is Pixar's good luck charm. He has been in every single Pixar movie. Sometimes it's hard to spot him and sometimes it's pretty obvious, and in this one it's super obvious. He's the Underminer.
I'm always beneath you, but nothing is beneath me!
Now we know he's in the movie because we've seen him in the trailers, and you have to look a little bit carefully, but he's right here. Moving on to number 9, the Pizza Planet truck. Now, normally I would include this with the other three because, of course, it is one of Pixar's most famous Easter eggs, but there is a little bit of an exception with this movie in that The Incredibles is the only movie that it does not appear in. That being said, we know that it will be in this movie, and it should have a cool 50s makeover. Also, a small bit of trivia, but the pizza delivery guy himself is voiced by a guy named Bill Wise, which really isn't that significant at all, except for the fact that Bill Wise is also voicing Screenslaver, the villain of the movie. So Pizza Planet is taking over. Buy our pizza or else. Actually, I doubt it, but I'm still watching you, pizza delivery guy. Speaking of food, next up we have number 8, the Chinese food box. This is an old and lesser used Easter egg in Pixar, but rest assured it will be in there. It has appeared already in Ratatouille, Inside Out, Toy Story 2, and A Bug's Life. And we know that it will be in there because they're eating Chinese food in the trailers. Next up is number 7, something from Toy Story 4. As is the tradition, Pixar always leaves an Easter egg for their next upcoming film in their current film. So sometimes you can spot it and not even know it was there until the next film actually comes out. When The Incredibles came out in 2004, Cars would have been the next upcoming movie in 2006, and we can spot Red, the fire truck, and Doc Hudson. That being said, there have been some odd schedule rearrangements that have actually made it a little bit trickier to figure out what to be looking for in this movie. You see, originally Toy Story 4 was supposed to come out this summer and Incredibles next summer, but the two switched places. So the big question is, are we looking for something in the Toy Story realm or something else? The good news is we can use another movie that was affected by this schedule change, Coco, as a test subject. Coco would have originally needed a Toy Story 4 Easter egg, but after the switch, The Incredibles. Their answer was just use both. You can see some Buzz and Woody piñatas here, and actually a couple Mike Wazowskis as well. And you can see a deathly looking Parr family for The Incredibles right here. So with that in mind, The Incredibles 2 absolutely should have some kind of Toy Story stuff, but what else? The only other project that we know that Pixar has slated is this untitled movie about a suburban fantasy adventure. And the main thing that I see on that looks like great Easter egg fodder is a dragon. Now, I doubt that we'll see an actual dragon in Incredibles 2, but maybe just a logo or on a poster or something. Moving on though to number 6, the voice actor of Dash. We saw this with Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, where the original voice actor for Nemo actually just kind of aged out of range. But as a fun Easter egg, the original voice actor Alexander Gould had a brief cameo right here.
Hey, give us our truck back!
Spencer Fox was the original voice actor of Dash, and I'm betting he's going to have a small cameo role somewhere in this movie. So just keep your ears open if they just like randomly cut to a pedestrian like with a one-liner, and then keep your eyes open at the end of the movie for the credits to see if you can spot him. Up next is number 5, Evelyn Dever. Now, this is less of an Easter egg and maybe more of a potential plot point for the movie, but we know the Parr family is going to be working with a brother-sister duo by the names of Winston and Evelyn Dever. The two claim that they want to bring the Supers back into the spotlight, but the problem is with Evelyn's name. It is a very clear on-the-nose pun for evil endeavor. The movie, this artwork, yikes, and this voiceover,
The screenslaver interrupts this program for an important announcement.
definitely are hinting at the idea that Screenslaver's secret identity is going to be Winston. I mean, even just like look at this image, like all eyes are on Winston, but who is standing in the shadows of the background? Evelyn. She is supposed to be some kind of a tech genius, and obviously the screenslaver is using television screens to kind of hypnotize the public. Plus, if it's a female villain, that works really nicely with Helen kind of taking over as the main character of this movie. Anyway, the one thing that we absolutely know for sure is that the Underminer is just so not the key villain. Also, possibly the pizza guy is. Up next is number 4, the game of the century. This is a guaranteed Easter egg. It's actually been revealed by Pixar, but unless you know what you're looking at, you totally won't be able to appreciate it. In Evelyn's office, be on the lookout for a chessboard that is set up mid-game. Now, this may just seem kind of like a prop for the background, but the pieces themselves are actually set up to match what is known in chess circles as the game of the century. In this game, 13-year-old Bobby Fischer defeats 26-year-old chess master Donald Byrne. This match was Bobby's coming out party as the soon-to-be greatest chess player in the world. But the significance of this as it relates to The Incredibles is that it's a young boy defeating a much more experienced, much more formidable opponent. This can be interpreted in a couple of different ways. The first could be that Evelyn kind of sees herself as the young boy in this analogy, and that the Supers are the much more formidable opponent. And or that Dash, Violet, and Jack are quite literally the younger adversaries defeating the more formidable opponent.
We want to fight bad guys.
Next, at number 3, we have random cameos. First, Usher. Seriously. Now, this seems totally random to me, but Usher himself tweeted a picture of him and Frozone in the movie, so I guess it's gonna be in there. Who knows? Maybe he's his biggest fan.
I am your biggest fan.
Usher is totally gonna be the villain. Usher's totally gonna be the pizza guy. Cameo number 2, the little boy on the trike. That was totally wicked!
That was totally wicked!
Totally nailed it. Totally nailed it. This was a bit of an Easter egg in the first movie, but the amazing little boy on the trike who is just waiting for something amazing, he guesses, is in fact none other than Brad Bird's son, Nick. Also, fun fact, he also voiced Squirt in Finding Nemo.
Good afternoon. We're gonna have a great jump today.
Now, I doubt that he reprises this same role because of like how well aging and puberty work. Similarly to Dash's actor's cameo, I have a feeling he'll find a way into the movie, especially since his dad is the director and all. I'm like so super hoping that he's like also still on a bike. So be on the lookout for bikes. Bonus points if he's on like a motorcycle and like after Elastigirl goes by, he's like, that was totally wicked. Now, while he probably isn't reprising his role, his older brother Michael definitely is as Tony Ridinger.
She'd eat if we were having Tony Loaf.
I'm sorry, Dash, but I bet not. Tony Loaf sounds disgusting. Next, we have Frank and Ollie, these two older gentlemen at the end of the movie. These two are based off of and voiced by veteran Disney animators Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. These two also happen to make an appearance in Brad Bird's other animated classic, The Iron Giant. The sad news is that both of these men have actually passed away since The Incredibles came out. But if you ask me, that's all the more reason that I hope that this Easter egg just lives on, even though they definitely won't be voiced by the same people. Up next is number 2, catastrophe scene as crisis looms. Now, this may seem like a crisis headline from like War of the Worlds or something, but instead it's actually a pun about cats. Though it is supposed to read as a doomsday headline from Lady and the Tramp of all things. I bring it up here because it's yet another Brad Bird specific Easter egg, which I understand may seem like slightly implausible since Lady and the Tramp came out in 1955 and Brad Bird was born in 1960. But that, along with 101 Dalmatians, were both huge influences on Brad Bird becoming an animator himself, so he always includes a nod to that in his movies. You can spot this one here in The Iron Giant and here in The Incredibles. Now, this is obviously kind of a tiny thing, but if you see anyone at all reading a newspaper, keep your eyes peeled for this headline. And finally, number 1, the Elasticycle. Every Pixar movie has its signature hardest to animate thing, and in this particular movie, this is that thing. We always love figuring out what it is and learning more about it. Actually, I made an entire video about it. You can check it out by clicking the card. The cool thing about whatever it ends up being is that the development or the technology involved always ends up making things just look that much better in future movies. For example, in The Good Dinosaur, it was actually the clouds, which will actually now be used in this movie. In the first Incredibles, I was super surprised to find out what it was, but it turns out Violet's hair. Animating humans at all at this point in time was pretty difficult to do, but what made Violet just so difficult is that her hair was so long. At one point in time, they actually didn't even know if they were going to be able to successfully do it, but they just had to figure it out because her hair was so critical to her character. For The Incredibles 2, the honor is going to go to the Elasticycle, but not specifically because of the design or texture of the device itself, but because of how fast it goes. Which is to say, 150 miles per hour. They actually had to adjust some of the building sizes and spacing to not make it look like a flea just bouncing from one place to another. Also be on the lookout for her crashing through some glass. This was particularly difficult to get because it was hard to make look realistic at all, so they actually had to add a bunch of larger and smaller pieces of glass to the breaking process. And guys, there you go. Top 10 things to look for in Incredibles 2. My question of the day, who do you think Screenslaver is going to be? And after you've seen the movie, be sure to come back and let us know any of the Easter eggs you spotted. Also, are you guys going to VidCon? If so, be sure to pick up one of these awesome play balls so that you can like collect signatures on it and stuff, maybe even ours. They're available at dftba.com, link in the description. But guys, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to check out the top 10 hardest things to animate in Pixar, you can check out this video right here. Or if you'd like to find out what Chronos means, you can check out this video right here. But Jay, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.